Welcome on in, everybody. This is Three Bold Takes. Quinn is back with us. We're doing predictions, and it's not just me and Freddie anymore. So if you hate me and Freddie, good. You have a third voice to listen to with our nonsense, guys. And as always, our fourth Three Bold Takes person is SeatGeek, guys. Make sure you use our discount code Three Bold Takes. You get $20 off your first purchase, your first ticket purchase. You can use that for concerts, games, whatever. I don't even care. You can use it to go watch a movie. I don't know. Maybe that works. Whatever it is, use our code first, Three Bold Takes, to make sure you get that $20 off. It's a win-win for everybody. We just look cool, and we're sponsored by SeatGeek when you do it. So anyway, we got a huge game for you this weekend. We've got Florida and Georgia, as always, one of the best rivalries in the early parts of November. This is, oh my goodness, I have not looked at the spread yet, and I just did, guys. So it's still October for us, so that's why I had a little bit of a jump scare. But it's a 16.5-point spread Georgia's way. Holy crap. I was not expecting that one. 52.5 over under here in this one. And Quinn, remind me, what is the name of this rivalry game again?
They've kind of separated away from it. So now it's referred to as the War for the Oar. However, everyone knows it as the world's largest outdoor cocktail party because that's what it is.
Interesting.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. And when did they change that? Quinn is our this guide to all things rivalry in college football.
As far as to when they changed it, it's been a gradual change for like the last decade now.
Okay.
They battle for like this old, like the trophy is like this old oaken like oar. So they just have tried to change the name of it recently because it's just really hard to say the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. That's a mouthful for a name of a rivalry. So
it is. Yeah. And Quinn, again, like I mentioned, is our know-it-all for every rivalry. There could be a rivalry between Wyoming and North Dakota State that you've never heard of. Quinn's going to know it, as always. So we're thankful to have Quinn on the show. But an 80% chance for Georgia here to win this game per the matchup predictor on ESPN. Freddie, we're going to give it to you first. You let us know what you're thinking in this one.
Well, I'm not thinking much as far as Florida has a chance in this game because they don't. I think Georgia is going to win this game, but my biggest thing is how does Georgia respond after beating Texas, right? Beat them handedly. Well, pretty much handedly, in my opinion. I mean, that was an absolute beat down on the defensive side of the ball, of which we're accustomed to seeing from Georgia. Right, so have we awoken a sleeping giant in Georgia this year, or is this going to be a game similar to the Mississippi State game where, yes, they win comfortably, but it's a little bit closer than you anticipated, right? The spread on the Mississippi State game was somewhere in the 20s, and they ended up winning by 10. 16.5 for rivalry game. Florida is not as bad as we probably thought they were, and they have a better record right now than I think we thought they may have. Georgia wins, but Florida covers the spread. I think this is going to be a closer game than probably you would anticipate, or at least that Vegas is anticipating. DJ Lagway, I think he's got a lot of progression that has to happen between now and next year, and I think that this is going to be a great chance for him to do that, to play against a Georgia team that is dominant. They're ranked second in the country for a reason, right? Like, you don't just get that ranking just to get the ranking. They've earned it. Carson Beck, though, he's got 8 interceptions on the year. That's too many through 7 games. Like, that's a little over 1 interception a game. He's got to learn to take care of the football a little bit better. Granted, I think 3 of them were against one team in Alabama, but that's beside the point. He's got to get better. And I think he's got to get better taking care of the football if Georgia wants to go on to do the things that they want to do this year and compete for a national championship and win the national championship. And I think this is going to be a good game for him to get back on track doing that, especially after the game against Texas. But give me Georgia to win, Florida to cover the spread, and Billy Napier does not get fired. Because I think we need to kind of talk about that week over week.
My bad. Real quick, Quinn, before you go. Actually, Freddie, 3 in the Alabama game and then also 3 at Texas.
So
yeah. And they still beat Texas 30-15, by the way, with 3 interceptions. No touchdowns from him. Quinn?
Yeah. So, I want to start by acknowledging the fact that I am often referred to as the Florida Gator hater on this show.
We need you a
And I
shirt.
want to.
This
We
is
do.
the Florida
It's
Gator
odd
hater.
with me wearing the orange. But
It's telling.
I want to start by saying I was going to get on here and say they were going to make this a competitive game with Georgia because honestly, after getting blown out by A&M, Florida has kind of turned their season around a little bit.
They
And
have.
their only loss since that is an overtime loss to Tennessee on the road. So they've actually looked really impressive. Then I decided to get on here and look at the history results of Florida, Georgia since Kirby Smart showed up. Florida took him down in 2016, his first year as the coach. Game was super competitive when Georgia was way outmatched. Florida took him down in COVID year in 2020. Every other game, the Bulldogs would cover the spread of 16.5, except for 2019, where they were both ranked in the top 10. Florida was higher ranked, and they lost by a touchdown. Every other game, Georgia has won by 17 plus points, which means to me that Kirby Smart clearly makes this a huge emphasis for his team. So give me Georgia and Georgia to cover. Probably going to drag Gator guts all over the field. It will be ugly. Florida fans will cover their children's eyes. They will tell them falsities at bed to help them sleep. They will probably get rid of the color red in their home for months. It will be bad. I'm just telling you right now, I'm just telling you straight up, this is going to be ugly. I genuinely was about to get on here and pick this to be a Georgia win in a close competitive ball game because frankly, I haven't been super impressed with Georgia this year, even with their road win over Texas, as far as them being what they have been the last couple years. But then I just look at the long results of just dominating Florida every single year. And it's kind of an inverse of what Steve Spurrier did to the Bulldogs during his time as the coach for the Gators. It's kind of the exact opposite of that. Spurrier played at Florida at a time where they got dominated by Georgia while he was a player and then went on to dominate Georgia as a coach. Kirby played at Georgia while Spurrier was dominating the Bulldogs and has now went on to dominate the Gators as a coach. So, yeah, give me Georgia to cover. It's going to be bad.
Look, I actually love what Florida's been able to do this season. A tough schedule. I think they had the toughest strength of schedule and before the season started. And they also had a lot of humps to get over. You had a senior quarterback in Graham Mertz, and you also have a very extremely talented, potentialed young guy in DJ Lagway at quarterback as well. Who do you play? You had to figure that out early on in the season. You dropped a game that you probably shouldn't have with Texas A&M as you're trying to figure this out. But then you bring Mertz back in to be your full-time starter, barely lose the game at Tennessee, and then Mertz is now out. I think Florida, Mertz, I thought he's a good quarterback, but he's not an elite quarterback. I think DJ Lagway here gives the Gators more room, a higher ceiling than they did with Mertz, just because of his potential. But they're also going to have a lower floor because this kid's a true freshman. He's going to make mistakes, and this is a game where he's probably going to make a few mistakes. However, I'm not going to take Georgia on the spread. I think Florida keeps it close. I think this is going to be a very good rivalry game. I'm still going to go Georgia here, but I'm going to say a 7 to 10 point win more than the 17. I don't think they cover that because Georgia's a great team, but this is a rivalry game. Your guys are going to show up and play, first of all. And then second of all, you're going to unleash Georgia's going to see a kid that Florida hasn't had a quarterback, man, do I want to say since Tebow, that is the dual threat option that he is. They've had like guys like Jeff Driscoll, Graham Mertz, Will Grier, Kyle Trask, guys like that are pocket passers. This kid has a chance to do a little bit of both. He's a big kid, 6'4", 6'5", so he's going to provide some stresses to this Georgia defense, I think, at some points. But he's still going to make some mistakes because he's a freshman quarterback. I mean, look at Dylan Raiola in Nebraska. Dylan Raiola has performed extremely well for Nebraska this season. But in moments that they've lost games, you can see, hey, that's a freshman mistake right there. Overthrowing your guy, putting the ball in a place that you shouldn't because you're young. You're trying to force the ball. You're going to see this, but you're also going to see some good things out of Florida. I'm going to say like a 35-20 game, and it's going to be very fun, very competitive, something of that nature. I think Georgia is still going to win this game regardless, though. But I'm in agreement with Freddie. Carson Beck has really got to step up his game. He came into the season as a Heisman contender. I think he was the top 3 when he came in. And then there was talks, very quiet, but there were talks of him potentially being a first overall pick. And Carson Beck does not deserve either of those things at this point in time. It has been carried by what we thought might be a down year for this Georgia team, talent-wise. But it seems like when you go back and look at the games that Carson Beck has had, he's been carried by not only his offense, but the defense as well because of how poorly he's played. And 41-31 against Mississippi State, you throw 2 interceptions. That's a lot of your talent speaking for you if you're not playing well at quarterback. Same thing for having a dominating win on the road in Austin with 3 interceptions, no touchdowns. Carson Beck's got to step up his play, and hopefully he does it in this game so Georgia can go on and win. So I'm going to take I'm going to take Georgia in this one. Florida on the spread.
Hey, real quick before we log out of this video, how big of a game do you think ETN has?
This is a homecoming game.
He's definitely going to be the storyline of this matchup.
You think so?
Absolutely. In my mind, he is.
I agree.
I mean, he's been. Has he had a big game yet this season? I mean, he's been decent, has he not?
No, the Georgia run game has really lacked this season.
So he had 3 touchdowns against Texas, so that's what carried. But
yeah,
he hasn't had a game over 100 yards yet, which is really interesting for ETN, and because Georgia's usually a really good rushing team. I actually couldn't tell you a backup that's on Georgia's team as a running back right now. Typically, they have like a 2 to 3 headed monster out of that running back. So maybe it's just lacking. The offensive line doesn't get the push like they need to.
Right.
But
guys,
yeah, I guess this is it. We got the Florida-Georgia game, one of the biggest rivalries. In my eyes, one of the biggest rivalries in college football. A fun one to watch if you're an SEC fan. So make sure to tune in to that. It's 2:30 p.m. Again, Georgia a 16.5 point favorite on this game. We're all going with the sweep in Georgia. So make sure to check that one out, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, think of our partner in SeatGeek for your first ticket purchase. If you use that, you'll get $20 off using our discount code 3BoldTakes, guys. For Freddie, Chase, and Quinn, 3Bold Takes. We're out.